to give will be true and correct?
Yes.
Okay. You can turn that microphone on in front of you there. There's a button in the bottom center. And then feel free to adjust the chair and the microphone so that you can sit comfortably. Yep, okay.
What was the second part of that? I'm sorry.
Oh, feel free to adjust the chair and the microphone so that you can sit comfortably.
All right.
Okay. Ms. Nichols-Cook, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. White. How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Can you state your name for the record and spell your name for the court reporter?
Lynn White, W-H-I-T-E.
And Ms. White, how do you know Todd Mullis?
I am his older sister,
And where do you currently live?
Dubuque County.
Did you grow up here in Delaware County?
Yes, I did.
And what do you do for work?
Currently, I am a office manager for a construction company,
How long have you been there?
14 years.
Prior to that, what did you do?
I was a city clerk treasurer for a small town in Dubuque County for 10 years, a neighboring county for 5 years as a deputy clerk, and I also worked in the banking industry for 5 years.
Do you have other siblings in addition to Todd?
Yes.
Who are they?
I have an older sister, Lori, an older sister, Mike, and the two younger boys, Pat and Todd.
And Mike's your brother.
Correct.
We've heard some references in other testimony about Lynn and Mike. Would that be you and your brother Mike that people are talking about as far as helping with things around the family farms?
Yes.
And then is Leroy Mullis your dad?
Yes.
Do your parents and your brothers all live close to where Todd and Amy Mullis were living in 2018?
Yes, all within about 5 miles.
And does your family, including your parents and your brothers, do they currently farm?
Yes.
Have they always farmed?
Yes.
Is it crops or livestock?
Both.
Both. In the spring of 2018, do you know who was planting crops?
Todd planted the corn and Mike planted the beans.
And in 2018, do you know who would harvest crops?
In 2018, it was Todd that ran the combine along with Mike.
Can you tell us about your relationship with Todd's wife, Amy?
I was in their wedding. I am the godmother of their daughter. At holidays, we would play cards together, do the dishes together, throw darts in the yard. I would stop on occasion to the farm and just visit.
I want to talk now specifically about the summer and the fall of 2018, okay?
Okay.
Do you remember learning that Amy's grandmother was ill and eventually passed away?
Yes.
Did you learn about any other family issues that Amy had going on that were affecting Todd and the kids?
I believe that her uncle was also in the hospital. He had some sort of brain bleed, and she was assisting her mom in taking care of her uncle.
Do you know if that required Amy to be gone from Delaware County at times?
Yes.
Did you have interactions with Todd and the kids and Amy during the summer and the fall of 2018?
Yeah, I would see them on occasion, yes.
Did you have any concerns about Todd and Amy's relationship?
None.
I want to talk now specifically about November 10th, 2018. Do you remember what you were doing that day?
I was babysitting my 2 grandsons.
Did you get a call that day about Amy?
Yes.
Can you tell us what you did after you got that call?
After I got the call, I assigned the babysitting duties to my husband, and I jumped in the car and I went to the hospital.
What did you see when you got to the hospital?
At the hospital, we went into the family room, and there was some friends that were in the family room, along with Todd sitting in a chair. His eyes were red. I could tell he had been probably crying or was upset. And there was, I believe, I'm not exact, but I think that, I mean, there was other people in the room, but I don't know who they were.
Okay, no, that's okay. And if I ever ask a question that you're not sure about, please ask me to ask it again.
Okay.
While you were in the waiting room, did you learn that Amy passed away?
They had come and asked Todd to go back to the emergency room where she was at, and when he came back, they said she had passed away.
At this point in time, what was your understanding of what had happened to Amy?
There was a farm accident at the farm, something with the red shed.
Did you help Todd with the logistics and the arrangements for Amy after that point?
Yes.
Did you help him make the funeral arrangements?
Yes, I went along with her mom and stepdad, and Taylor, I believe, also went along to help, and we made the funeral arrangements in Manchester.
After the funeral arrangements had been made, did you learn that there were concerns that Amy's death was not an accident?
When I was going up to the farm, on, I believe it was the 16th, I had called Todd that I was on the way, and he said that he had gotten a call from Sheriff LeClaire that he wanted him to stop in at the office, and they were going to get the file basically kind of wrapped up, closed up, and so we could move on. So, and I don't want you to, I want to make sure I keep asking you questions. So on November 16th, is that when you became aware that there were concerns about Amy's death not being an accident? yes.
Okay. And so at that point you learned that the sheriff wanted to see Todd. What did you do?
I picked him up and I drove him to the sheriff's office for this interview to get it wrapped up. I waited in the waiting room.
Do you know how long you were in the waiting room while Todd was with the sheriff?
It was approximately 2 to 3 hours at least.
What happened when you and Todd left the sheriff's office that day?
They had told me they issued us, what do they call them, subpoena, and that they wanted to get Amy's phone from the farm. And so we basically drove back to the farm then with, just in the car, with the subpoena or in our hand. Was reading it, I guess.
Could it also have been like a search warrant?
Oh, yes, that's what it was. Sorry.
Okay. At that time, did you learn what investigators thought had happened to Amy?
I'm going to object. This is calling through based upon hearsay.
Well, overruled. The witness can testify as to her understanding.
When I went into the interview room, Agent Turbot had said that we know Todd did this.
So at that point, in your mind, what are you doing? Like, what are your next steps?
I guess I was in shock, number one. Next step, I thought, where are you coming up with this? Because it was a farm accident. And I was trying to think, who do I call? So,
did you contact
what my
an
mind
attorney
was.
between the sheriff's office and the farm?
say that again.
Did you contact an attorney between leaving the sheriff's office and arriving at the farm?
Yes.
Were you at Todd and Amy's then when the search warrant was executed on the 16th?
Yes.
How would you characterize your interactions with law enforcement during that process?
After we had given them the phone, they wanted to see the buildings, and when we were walking to the building, Travis Hemesath turned around and said, "You need to tell your brother."
Sustained.
If you can characterize it without repeating what someone said to you as far as, was it hostile or angry? Was there a lot of back and forth? What do you recall observing and being a part of?
Can you re-ask that again? Sorry.
Yeah. When the search warrant is being executed on the 16th, can you describe for us what was happening? Were officers also talking with you and Todd?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, on hearsay and backdoor hearsay, even if we're cabining it where it's not saying specifically what they said, it's based upon those statements and observations of those statements.
Yeah, I mean, I think that question is probably inviting hearsay, Ms. Nichols-Cook. I'm not sure if maybe you can rephrase.
Let me try, Your Honor. Thank you. Would you characterize the interactions that you had with investigators as being aggressive towards you?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
You can answer.
Yes.
After the search warrant was executed, did you help Todd make any adjustments to the funeral arrangements for Amy?
Yes. We spoke with Bob Sabers, and we just plain asked him, do we want to wait on getting the cremation process delayed if there's going to be issues?
I'd like to show the witness Exhibit 310, just the first page. Let me know if it pops up on your screen.
It's not popping up for some reason. Just a second here, counsel.
Your Honor, may we approach the witness and show her one of our screens?
You certainly can. It's not acting like it's connected at all, so I'm not sure what the issue is.
Ms. White, do you recognize that document?
Yes.
Can you tell us what it is?
It was the letter that was drafted to the by Leonard Funeral Home in order to have them delay the cremation.
I object on hearsay on this letter. The letter's not in evidence, and it's signed by Mr. Mullis, so it's hearsay.
Okay. The objection's overruled. The answer will remain in the record. And you had not offered it yet, correct, Ms. Nichols-Cook? All right.
Ms. White, did you help Todd write this letter?
We talked to the funeral home, and the funeral home director is the one that wrote it.
And did you?
I was
type
on the
it up
phone
and
call.
prepare it?
I was on the phone call with the funeral director at the time, yes.
Did you type up this letter?
I don't remember.
Have you seen this letter before today?
Yes.
And is what you've seen today a true and accurate representation of the letter that you helped Todd prepare for the funeral home?
Yes.
At this point, we would move page 1 of 310 into evidence.
Mr. Bakke?
With the caveat, we're just talking about page 1. I have no objection on foundation, but I would object on the same hearsay grounds that it's signed by Mr. Mullis.
.310, page 1 is admitted. The objection's overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. White, I want to move on a little bit and talk about, you mentioned Bob Sabers earlier. Is he an attorney?
Yes.
Were you involved in hiring counsel or representation for your brother Todd?
I assisted, yes.
Is Mr. Sabers one of those attorneys that you met with and hired?
Yes.
Do you recall when you first hired Mr. Sabers?
After talking to the lawyer on the way back to the farm, we also asked him, you know, it was not the type of law that he had or practiced, so he suggested some names. We're like, who do we talk to? So he suggested some names, and we called Bob. Actually, I called Bob, but
Thank you. Do you recall the date that Todd was arrested for Amy's murder?
February of 2019.
And at that time, did you let Mr. Sabers know about the arrest?
Yes. I was at work, and I got a phone call from my brother Mike, and so then I proceeded to call Bob and find out what was going on.
And so at some point, did another attorney become involved in representing Todd on these charges?
Yes.
Do you remember his name?
Jake Firehelm?
And while these attorneys were representing your brother, was Todd in the county jail?
Yes.
And at times, was he also moved to the Buchanan County Jail?
Yes.
What was your role with the attorneys while they were representing Todd?
I was kind of the middleman as far as communications. I was the gopher to find information to get to them.
Were you in communication with Todd while he was in the county jail?
Yes, he would call.
How often would he call you?
Oh, probably at every 2 or 3 days, every day. It just depended on the week.
When you said you were the middleman or the person, does that mean you were asking the attorneys questions?
Yes.
And were you also then providing them information or answers to their questions?
Yes, correct.
Was Todd asking you questions?
Yes.
Were you able to give Todd any answers?
None other than they're working on things, because I didn't want to get into details over the phone.
And why was that?
The phone calls are recorded.
Do you recall Todd writing notes and letters to the attorneys while he was in jail?
Yes.
Would you also then get copies of those from the attorneys?
I would get the originals from the attorney.
I want to show the witness a prior exhibit 233.
Oh, and it came up.
It popped up now.
Thank you. Ms. White, this exhibit has several pages, but looking at the first page, do you recognize it?
Yes, it's one of Todd's letters.
And we can scroll slowly for you. Does this appear to be a continuation of Todd's writing?
Yes.
Okay. What about this page?
Yes.
And the next one?
Yes.
And the next one?
Yes.
And on this one, do you see a date at the top?
Yes, August 29th, 2019.
Based on your recollection, is this before the criminal trial?
Yes, that was in September.
Next page. Is this also Todd's writing, and continuation of the prior letter?
Yes.
And same question here.
Yes, continuation.
And we've covered all the pages in that exhibit. So can you tell us a little bit about what types of questions and information Todd was looking for while he was in jail?
Well, he kept asking if we were going to have the scene recreated, if we could possibly get experts on what they were looking for.
I'm going to object on hearsay grounds. Party opponent to himself.
Overruled. You may continue with your answer.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I'll ask you another question. Did Todd and you have conversations before he went to jail about, what would happen if he was arrested?
Yes.
And did you get kind of chosen to help, be a voice for him?
Yes.
And so when Todd would communicate with you, either via letter or phone calls, would you take concerns that he had to the attorneys?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes. I would call them and just call them like every day. What's going on? What are we doing?
And did you also send them emails?
Yes.
At any point, did they start sending you updates about the case and what was happening?
They would send phrases along saying we're working on things and just tell me they were working on things. I mean,
What was your understanding of what that meant? We're working on things.
Objection, it's based on hearsay and vague.
Sustained.
What did you think was happening at that time?
Objection calls for speculation.
Asking for her own understanding and to explain the actions that she takes next. It's not asking her to repeat any out-of-court statement for the truth of the matter. It's what she thought was happening.
If you can clarify as to the time period, the witness may answer.
Ms. White, during the time after Todd's arrest, before his trial, when you would have conversations with the attorneys and they told you they were working on things, what did you think was happening?
I'm going to object again on hearsay and speculation.
Overruled.